any beginning of any ancient text is going to be the manuscript of how any occultist started to think on how they brought themselves into existence, which started from the afterthought of how they already developed ideas and created signs, symbols, and sigils, which is hieroglyphics, to create a community before the actual language. And any hieroglyphics is the correspondence to as above, so below, to relate how the seasonal transitions move, period. And how we relate to the seasonal transitions, as above, so below, as it is in heaven, as it is on earth. This is basically the hieroglyphics. And the hieroglyphics is a different form of clocks and calendars, which became, in today's time, astrology, astronomy, religion, math, science, birthdays, and holidays in today's time, due to oral tradition and how to build the world. Now, the group of individuals, thought forms, these group of individuals, thought forms, who came up with that concept, are now being worshipped as Lucifer in today's time, aka a light bearer named God. Demons love being called God. But when we anthropomorphize, that's our power. We create golems with our mind state. So if our mind is considered the light, you know that witchcraft comes from Masonic, and Masons is following this oral tradition as thinking that this is their concept that they need to follow on how to rule the world, because they're trying to cling it to their being their ancestors or their way of life mentally coming together. So these group of individuals, thought forms, are now being worshipped as Lucifer, or some disembodied brain that created the world, which in this context, you need to understand is talking about a worldview, not the actual world. The actual world is teamwork makes the dream work. We all have to be aware of each other. And that awareness is what energy is, that develop as water, seeds, mustard seeds, and everything. And then when you create your bubble out of that, your specific bubble out of that, that's your own mind. Then your mind bend in on itself. Your man bend in on itself and become flesh. Now you got an organ that we all can represent each other down here as living souls, living the spirit, the soul that's inside this thing that's living, that we have created. You know what I'm saying? So the spirit create the mind, to know that it's an individual solo spirit, which is a soul, and then that mind that the soul is inside of bend in and create a body. So you're two layers within yourself. So for the most part, this is how we created the whole world, to interact with each other. Now, any spirit that has a rulership type of mentality with this concept to rule the other individuals, that sheep who don't know how to utilize their own mind, once we hear, is actually the thought forms that's being worshipped, not the thought form being a god itself. No, a person that was living and their thought forms being deified. Which is deification, is the concept of anthropomorphizing, which is a practice. And those people who created that practice is the people who created the first civilization, which is motherfuckers who still running the world today, is calling, quote unquote, their bloodline. And a bloodline within the Bible context is, we know the mind bends in on itself and become the water and the plasma. So a bloodline is not always correlated to the race. It's correlated to who have similar thoughts. So if you don't have a thought of how to build the world, or see this in an occult way, the way I'm explaining it, that's why I keep saying it's not in you. So your ancestors is sheep. And I'm not talking to y'all as a soul group, because we're a soul group. We indigenous spirits. I'm talking to people who be on the internet thinking they're intelligent and they're not. So they need sources from shit that I'm teaching you how motherfuckers create what you call a source. Bitch, I'm the one to source with.